Ready, guys? We are live. Nice. This is gonna be good.
Back up, back up.
Yo lo voy a grabar, no te preocupes, yo lo voy a grabar, lo estoy grabando. Yo lo estoy grabando.
Ice.
Mira, echaron gran pimienta. Gran pimienta echaron. Echaron gran pimienta. Gran pimienta amarilla. Mira, aquí está uno, aquí hay otro. Espérate. Echó gas pimienta, echó gas pimienta. Echó gas pimienta. Gas pimienta, ese señor echó gas pimienta.
It's an
Aquí
ice arrest.
echó gas pimienta, ve. Eso va para Telemundo, va. Ahorita para Telemundo.
Channel 47.
Mira, tú para Telemundo. Telemundo, va.
She's gonna send this to Telemundo? Is that what she's
Para
saying?
Telemundo. Gas pimienta echó tu compañero.
Ahora ella me trae no puede ya.
No, gas pimienta echó, no te preocupes. Que echó gas pimienta.
A mess.
Back up. Back up. Back up. Back up now. Back up. Back up. Maria, relax.
See, they're arresting this woman.
Relax, Maria. Relax.
Relax, Maria.
Déjame explicarte lo que está
That's it. Just
pasando.
relax.
Dominican.
Dale el otro, dale el
Relax.
otro. Y
Relax.
espérate.
Relax. Okay. Relax. Okay. I'm gonna explain everything to you right now.
Yo
Relax.
te voy a explicar lo que
Okay.
está pasando.
Okay.
She's translating.
Sit up. Okay.
Espérate,
Sit up. There you
ven.
go.
No peleen.
No pele. That means don't fight, right?
No peleen. No peleen. Espérate. Wait.
She thought she could get away.
If we sit here in this chair,
No tienen una orden judicial. No tienen una orden judicial. Eddie. Siéntate.
Beautiful.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, happy International belated Women's Day. It's also, Pele means hit. Oh, don't hit. Thank you, Hake Radio, on Periscope. I am streaming on my channels. It's the Hake Report. It's, Monday, March 9th, 2020. Giovanni A. Oye, rompe la cara. That means break the face, I think. Listen, break the face. So what you just listened to, if you're listening to the podcast, and watched, if you're watching, it was very dark, it's a video, cell phone video, was a woman, illegal alien, presumably, allegedly, right, getting arrested by ICE agents, and they doused her in pepper spray, according to the story, according to Drudge and the New York Daily News, which is a far-left outlet. I read this on the top, in Hake News at the end of the second hour, just before the third hour. And I pointed out that the Daily News, New York Daily News, is a far-left outlet that is not to be trusted. They employ, I don't know if they still do, I presume that they do, Black Lives Matter propagandist, and he is a propagandist, Sean King, the one that a lot of you guys say is white. He's not black. Google a picture of Sean King for me, just to show you who they employ. His Twitter feed is nasty. I think he blocked Jesse Lee Peterson on Twitter, by the way. But the agents barged into La Cabana. Is that Cuban? The cabin? Something. A Spanish eatery. Yeah, it is Cuban. And nabbed Maria de los Angeles Sanz Pimentel. Something like that. A Dominican immigrant. without a work visa. I don't know if she overstayed or if she came here illegally. She came legally and overstayed the visa, or she came illegally. Either way, she's an illegal alien. There's a picture of Sean King, who purports to be at least part black. But the main point is he is a Black Lives Matter liar, propagandist, emotional, family man, family male. I think he's married and has kids, but he's a nutcase. Always chasing out for like black and brown victimhood. Thank you, Hot Computer Smell. By the way, I did get some D lives from yesterday that I did not get to, some diamonds. And I got some Ninjaginis yesterday as well, but I did not. I read those because those stay longer. I can see them longer. And by the way, Gail Manchester gave a sticker, says, thank you. But let me just finish this story. They barged in this Dominican immigrant, illegal alien, according to ICE and officials. On the video posted on Twitter by a liberal, and I'm going to show you that guy again if you're watching the video. Pimentel can be heard coughing and seen on the ground, really the floor. Come on. Come on, New York Daily News. Become real news. Because this is inside of a building. When it's inside of a building, it's the floor. It's not the ground. Anyways, coughing, surrounded by ICE agents, all dazed. Don't be resisting arrest. And according to ICE, she did resist arrest. Bunch of onlookers. And what is that lady saying? You heard a bunch of Spanish, right? And one kept on repeating, Telemundo, Telemundo. That means she's taking the cell phone video and going to send it to Telemundo for propaganda purposes. Oh, these people are being Nazis. ICE is Nazis. That's the Spanish World Star, yeah. That's what Nick says. So her sister, this woman's supposed sister, Jenny Sands, traveled from Florida to New York, saying that they threw her to the floor and she didn't even know she doesn't even know what happened. She's just repeating what this woman heard, what she heard, saying the violence isn't necessary. I don't know why they're using so much force. They entered where she was, they threw her to the floor, and 2 men were on top of her, and they sprayed her with pepper spray. And a bunch of elected officials and stuff denounced the video. Let's see. ICE said they nabbed Pimentel because she'd overstayed a visa, that expired September 22nd, 2019, and was flagged following her February 25th arrest for a fight with a friend at a bar. So this woman is no nonviolent woman. She had a fight. I don't know, was she fighting her friend? Or she and her friend were fighting at a bar? Not very ladylike. She was released without bail in that incident, according to the New York Police Department. A U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE Fugitive Operations Team discharged Olerisin capsicum, more commonly known as OC spray, while attempting to arrest Maria de los Angeles Sanz Pimentel, an illegal alien, illegally present Dominican national. This was after Sanz Pimentel resisted arrest. I believe it. Pimentel feels very sad. She feels afraid because we have never been through anything like this. I just tell her to stay calm. This is the sister talking. Because we will be here for you, but she's nervous, said Sanz. It's good that her coworkers filmed the incident because now people can see who ICE really is and how they act. Those guys were acting fine, in my opinion. They were making an arrest. I didn't see anything inappropriate. Why does she have to be taken, and why does she have to be taken in such a violent way? She is not a killer. She never did anything, according to this sister. And the incident comes at the heels of a botched raid-turned-shooting in Brooklyn last month. Why are these things getting escalated? Because if it was a normal arrest and you saw the authorities, you wouldn't need to be pepper sprayed unless you're resisting. But why? But it just reminds me of the blacks, when they're always escalating situations. Look at Sandra Bland; she escalated. But look, this Last month, it got national attention, a raid that turned into a shooting in Brooklyn. An ICE agent opened fire on a supposedly unarmed immigrant. And you know that when the media says unarmed immigrant or unarmed black man, they're not telling the whole story. They're just cherry picking facts. They're lying with facts, deceiving. It probably means violent, illegal alien. So it's just interesting to me that this woman, like they're making it out like she's this innocent victim and they just pepper sprayed her, doing nothing. She was just standing there delivering food. She'd been arrested before for fighting with a friend at a bar. Women don't belong in bars. So anyways, one guy on Twitter seemed to speculate that this woman was moving product, was his word for it. He's a Hispanic guy, as in being a drug dealer. Just mess. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that workers, people who work in these restaurants and in cabinet shops and in construction crews and all that stuff, I know that workers, illegals, do sell drugs. They just do. Not all, but many. And some of them realize it's a temptation not to get into. That's the ill-gotten gain. Even just being here is ill-gotten gain, to be honest. They don't need to be here. So it's just kind of interesting. Hake wouldn't make a good police officer. What makes you say that? So there was, you know what? Let me read these D lives. You don't have to show them, Joel, but if you can, that's great. Army Ann gave a diamond. Thanks to the corona hype, everyone will clean up. I don't know about that. Some people may, though. Silosifer, thank you for the diamonds. Appreciate that support. Hot Computer Smell Diamond, thank you. Jimmy DM, better late than never for the cause with the Ninja Guinea. Thank you. And Azzmador gave a diamond. Obama lemons, because I do open the treasure chest on D Live and redistribute lemons. DLive.tv/The Hake Report. Obama lemons are caged separately from their parents. True. As they should, to be honest. Because they could be colluding with their children. Blazing Hogs says, I can't breathe. Yeah. I would not want to get pepper sprayed, but you bring it on yourself. Hake is in crisp focus today. He white, says Lin Yen Chin. Thank you. Telemundo es no bueno, says Alejandro Davila. Thank you. Very true. I agree. So, speaking of the coronavirus, stress, you guys may have heard about these fights over toilet paper over in the UK. Those were women fighting. And actually, I don't know if they were fighting in the UK. I think it was in Australia. Women fighting, violent females. It's laughed off when women are violent. Because they can't do as much damage, let's be honest. Except to kids, and especially spiritually. They mess up the kids, right? So, let me tell you about some endorsements. Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders are going at it, trying to see who's going to go up against Trump and lose. Joe Biden was Barack Obama's vice president. He's a phony guy. Very phony. But he's shameless. And that's what gets him. If you want to be successful in politics, be shameless. Look at the people who've been around in the limelight for years. Maxine Waters, shameless. Makes all kinds of errors. Pure evil woman. Endorses riots, basically. And evil woman, but she's shameless. Never apologizes. Al Sharpton was shameless. And he stayed on top forever. He went to the White House, 30 times? Can you Google how many times Al Sharpton went to the White House under Obama? I was shocked to even hear that people actually ever did and do, or at least back then did, take that guy seriously. Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. Because when I was growing up, I would see them on TV. I'm like, those people are a joke. And everybody around me, even like the liberals that I grew up with, I didn't think of them as liberals, but they were liberals. They felt the same way. They didn't respect these people. They're Mexicans, right? So he was invited 85 times, according to Joel's Google work. 85 times to the White House in Obama's 8 years. That's a ton of times, according to TWP. TWP? Oh, the Washington Post. Wow. And the Washington Post is a piece of work themselves. But so that's Joe Biden. He was Obama's vice president. And he's shameless. And he's been in the government since before Joel was born, I think. Maybe since before I was born. So that's going on 30, 40 years. I don't know. And, oh man, if you look at him, he's not looking well. And I don't enjoy saying this, but you look at his face, there's like these spots on it, like age spots, and he doesn't seem well. Google like a picture of his face. Joe Biden. When I watched a recent clip that either I had played or had seen, he was not looking right. Standing next to his wife. Oh yeah, that time when the dumb vegan women stormed on stage and said, "Let dairy die." You look closely, you can see like these spots on his face. Excuse me. And then he's not looking well. But he was endorsed by Brady, United Against Gun Violence. And there was a statement put out by a female president, Chris Brown. With a K, Chris Brown. Female woman. That's redundant, right? But and it was so weird. You have to listen to, okay. I call this anti-Second Amendment, right? Oh, there he is. That even is making him look healthier than he looks in real life, I think. But anyways, me with my shiny face. Listen to this headline. I wish I had screenshotted it for you guys. CNN Politics. Listen to this. This is like a weird manipulation of language. Pro-gun safety Brady group. Translate that for me. Endorses Joe Biden for president. I took a screenshot, Joel, and I'll pass it along. Pro-gun safety Brady group endorses Joe Biden for president. And anytime you see the word safety, they just mean female made-up rules to pretend like they're protecting people. What they really mean is, listen to the name of this actual organization, Brady. And you know the Brady bill, I think that came around when Reagan was president. Wasn't Brady the guy that got shot? But the name of this organization is Brady, United Against Gun Violence. And they endorsed former President Joe Biden. And here it comes. On Sunday, citing his deep and consistent commitment ending gun violence in the United States. The endorsement, only the second the group has issued in a presidential primary, provides Biden with a key marker to contrast himself with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders on the issue of so-called gun safety. And show the picture of the woman with the only woman that I have pictured in their thing. She's the one says has her arms folded and she has like tattoos looking things. Red writing. Background, checks. This is the president. This female is the president of this group. that I just dragged in the headline, Joel. Show this headline because it's such a confusing headline. I could not figure out what they were talking about. Do you see it? Pro-gun safety. It's a screenshot. I think I put it in. Pro-gun safety Brady group endorses Joe Biden for president. That doesn't even make sense because it's anti-gun, and they're not for safety. They're not for so-called gun safety. Isn't that a confusing wording? Would you know what that meant, Joel? You would have to be like, maybe they mean pro. Therefore, why wouldn't they just call it gun safety group, at least? Wouldn't that make more sense? So-called gun safety group? And it would have to be so-called because these people, they took away, the liberal media no longer refers to pro-lifers as pro-lifers. They call them anti-abortion, which is fine. I'm fine with that. And then they call the pro-abortion people pro-choice. How come you're showing Biden again? Because he looks confused. I'm okay with that. So anyways, this so-called pro-gun safety organization, Brady, United Against Gun Violence. Brady President Chris Brown said in a statement, "At a time when our politics are polarized and people are looking for answers, Joe Biden can break through the division." Yeah, right. And deliver real change. She sounds like she's stuck in 2008 with Obama. "He has proven that he understands that gun violence affects every community and person. There is no other candidate in this race with his record and his commitment to ending gun violence." He's been in there for, decades? And he's gone back on his crime crackdown laws, right? Weren't all the Democrats for like cracking down on the, during the crack epidemic? Cracking down on violent crime? Super predators? Hillary Clinton referring to killers on the street during the massive murder rates of the early 90s. Referring to them as super predators. No conscience, no empathy. And everybody thought she was only talking about blacks. Well, probably primarily she was, but black murderers specifically. That's what she was talking about. And now these people are backtracking on that, so that's not going to end gun violence. It's really human being violence with guns. Duh. But that's that. Both Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders are getting the worst people endorsing them. Did you play in the last hour on Jesse's show, Jesse Jackson Sr., and they have to call him Senior now, endorsing Bernie Sanders, a socialist? I thought Jesse Jackson was an American, and they call him a civil rights leader, which is fine because civil rights, we all know, is a disgusting thing. So are so-called human rights organizations. I'm going to get to the human rights people because they're doing mess again. Not to be trusted. No, nothing with civil rights or human rights is to be trusted. So that's why I corrected the record when that South African guy said the AfriForum, which is meant to protect whites from the attacks, is not a civil rights group. It's for what's right. They're for what's right. But I guess you could call it civil rights, but I wouldn't want to use that term because that term has been tainted by, it's communism, basically, most of these people. Former candidate Marianne Williamson, the nut, endorsed Bernie Sanders. And New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, the guy who's like overseen how crime is spiking again in New York City, right? Isn't crime spiking again? And they're trying to cook the books, run the number, play with the numbers, pretend like crime isn't going out of control again in New York City. But he's a socialist. He kisses up to Black Lives Matter. He got that guy fired who supposedly chokeholded Eric Garner. He did nothing wrong. He was doing his job. He took down the guy resisting arrest. And the guy was out of shape, couldn't handle it, had a heart attack afterwards. I wouldn't want to get grabbed from behind, but I wouldn't also want to resist arrest and say, this ends now. But I guess once people get a taste of jail, they don't act right. And these are grown adult black men doing this. These are not like young wild guys. Eric Garner acting like that. And who else? Who's that guy that got shot in the back? Walter Scott. I guess I don't know why he would act like that. But Walter Scott was the guy over in North Carolina or South Carolina who ran when he was stopped by a cop, got caught, fought the cop off, broke free, ran again, got shot in the back and died, got killed. But he was a 50-something-year-old man. Why? I get the young, dumb, wild guys doing it. It's kind of. But a guy that old, and I think he was delinquent on maybe child support payments, which is not right and whatever. For one, I don't know. What a messed up situation. People get into these messed up situations and then they like panic because they don't want to face jail or I don't know what. Anyways, so Bill de Blasio is causing more havoc in New York City, just as Bernie Sanders would cause more havoc in America. Bernie Sanders stood by and allowed Black Lives Matter females, disgusting ones, to take over the stage, I think twice. I know he did it once, and it was awful. So he's going to allow the evil people to run rampant because he did it on his own stage. He even let them take over his own campaign, basically. So and then Joe Biden is every bit as bad as that. He's celebrating that. He says it's a good thing. I don't have to convince you guys. You guys already know this. He says it's a good thing that whites are becoming a minority. Absolute, unfettered, constant immigration. I'm quoting him. I'm paraphrasing him. He said this, and this was like recently. He's happy that we're having this mass unchecked immigration. And we need to end both the illegal and legal immigration stuff. Marcus Jones is still mad about Eric Garner. Well, he's saying that they're arguing because I brought up Eric Garner. Marcus Jones is mad at 30 Pieces of Silver, who's mad at us for having a Bloomberg ad, I think. But Marcus Jones is saying that Eric Garner died because of an illegal chokehold. Well, one, it was not illegal. It may have been against the department policy, or it may not have been. He maintains that it was a seatbelt hold and not a chokehold. And it was the stress of that. But it was also the stress of being an out-of-shape, fat, couldn't walk a block without stopping to catch his breath. I'm paraphrasing a friend of his who said something along those lines. He couldn't walk around the block or a block or something without having to stop and catch his breath. He had crazy problems. And he was protecting criminals. And he was a petty kind of a criminal himself. And he was resisting arrest. The stress of resisting arrest and the backlash to that resistance, that's what gets you killed, Marcus Jones. You got to be sane about it. Tell the truth. And why are blacks resisting arrest so much? And now illegals. And then the cops and ICE are called the bad guys when they're just doing the best they can. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed in you two, Hake and Jesse. 30 Pieces of Silver. People are still upset about this, about Jesse Lee Peterson taking Bloomberg's money and using it for good. And then you guys get subjected to 3 minutes in 3 hours of a Bloomberg ad. Oh, no. Terrible. I don't know. I was just playing about the mad thing, Marcus Jones. But anyways, you guys do get sucked into it. And I do notice that when you get sucked into an argument, it's because you're mad. It's because you're mad within, meaning insane, angry person. Because you'll notice that when you're probably never anger-free, right? But I noticed that when I'm watching Jesse Lee Peterson debate with people, he's not really attached to the arguments. He's more into waking people up. And so when all these people, these dumb people, accuse him of getting defensive, hey, that's not true, Gangsta Wise. When all these people accuse him of getting defensive and stuff like that, I'm like, no. I've never seen him get defensive. He's not sucked into these, I call them ego battles, in which you see people fighting online, or you see people getting into crazy arguments or arguing and getting so passionate about their little facts that they're attached to. I don't see Jesse doing that. It's just a little FYI thing. Hey, Matthias says, Hake, it's the principles behind it. But you haven't named any principles. Nobody is mad. They're just calling you guys out. Yeah, they are mad. They are mad. And they are calling us out with fake principles. So, anyways. I've told you who supports Bernie Sanders. Now listen to who supports Joe Biden. No. What the heck? I did it backwards. I told you who supports Bernie Sanders. I told you some of who supports Joe Biden, that phony woman with the anti-Second Amendment group called Brady United Against Gun Violence with the female president. Women in charge. And, I hear guys like Destiny, who is a nice Twitch streamer guy, liberal. I think he's kind of liberal. Actually, he's very liberal in some ways. But he's talking about wanting to reduce harm to people and keep people from being harmed when you're sacrificing what's right in order to so-called reduce harm. What a mess. But listen to who else? Kamala Harris. How do you pronounce her name, really? Whatever. The one that Obama said was pretty. Former candidate. I thought that she was going to win. I thought she was going to. It shows you what I know about the Democrats, right? She endorsed Joe Biden. She's the one who's Jamaican and Indian and pretended like she had this horrible life growing up in Berkeley, getting bused to the white schools or something like that. Ridiculous. And her dad is against her views. Her dad was mad, and rightly so. I don't know if he was mad, but he let her have it, at least verbally, about other. I don't know if he put out a statement or what, but he let it be known that he was not pleased with her making light and what is it called? Reinforcing the stereotype of the Jamaican who's high on pot. Right? Isn't that what he was really mad about? I think that's what he was talking about. It's me, Christian. No, I do not. This woman, and that's that female thing again, like making people feel okay with doing, turning themselves into mediocre people with this pot stuff. She's like, it just makes you feel good. And that culture, that embracing the getting high culture is not, even if you're pro pot for the so-called health benefits of it, and I'm sure you could find some. This type of culture that she's promoting is degenerate. And she's making degenerates feel good about it being degenerate, and she's one of them. So, that's that. Tax Cattle, which I think is a friend of mine, says, Bloomberg was the #1 gun control candidate. You are at least inconsistent if not incompetent. So what? So what if he was the #1 gun control candidate? It doesn't matter. He's out, and nobody who loves Jesse's message is falling for it. Duh. But anyways, you guys can be suckers. My interview on Azzmador's show is now up. You guys can catch it. Isn't that nice? Some of you guys may not be familiar, but one of my listeners on DLive.tv/The Hake Report, and Jesse Lee Peterson's listeners on DLive.tv/Jesse Lee Peterson, is Azzmador, and he's a D-Liver, if you're supposed to call them that. DLive.tv/Azzmador, Azzmador, and he interviewed me on DLive. And the podcast is now available to listen to if you didn't catch it live, or if you want to go back and hear it. Go to dailystormer.su. I think dailystormer.name works too. Yes, dailystormer.name redirects to dailystormer.su. Scroll down to the bottom. Under radio, see TKR Live. TKR is the Crypto Report. Crypto is spelled with a K, all right? And it's Azzmador's interview with me from, I guess it was February 28th? I don't know. Actually, no, that doesn't seem long enough ago. It might have been, though. Yeah, it may have been. Cool, huh? So, dailystormer.su. And then I'll have it linked on my blog post, thehakereport.com/blog. So you can find it. You can find that interview and listen to it. You can download it. You can get the RSS feed to get his podcast. It's a good podcast. I recommend it. It's maybe sometimes it may not be for children, little children, because, every now and then a cuss word may go out. But anyways, I recommend it. It's cool. It was a fun interview. Nice. So, was there anything else I wanted to show the guys? That was a fun interview with him. Oh, you know what, guys? Speaking of this like ongoing migrant crisis stuff, over on it's not the other side of the world, the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, I guess you would call it, in Greece and Turkey and the island of Lesbos, if I remember correctly, they're having problems with, I don't know, are they Syrian? I'm looking at Joel. Are they Syrian so-called refugees? But there's crazy wars and stuff going on. And then there are corrupt countries. I hate to use this term. Am I an NPC for using this term? Unproductive people? But it's a mess. People are letting their countries go out of control, right? And they're, instead of staying and fighting it out, they're fleeing and taking advantage of getting spoiled in Europe or somewhere. That's the impression that I get. I don't know if it's completely true, right? But according to Drudge, Greek border is in flames as so-called migrants keep trying to break through. I wouldn't want to let these people in if they're going to act like that. Would you? I want polite people. At least be polite. Farmers and pensioners are turning into vigilantes. CNN reports several migrants attempting to cross from Turkey to Greece claim Greek security forces took their documents, money, phones, and clothes before sending them back to Turkey in their underwear. Whoa. That's bold. I wish we could do that. But, you have to be somewhat politically correct because the outside world has a little say in what goes on, I guess. They have all this influence. Turkey recently broke an agreement with the European Union and is currently allowing migrants to cross its border into Europe. So the European Union got this deal with Turkey, which is a Muslim country, but it's more well-to-do, I guess, or it was anyways. In 2016, where they would keep the so-called refugees from going into Europe, because too many Europeans are getting red-pilled, right, by all the criminal migrants, because there's a whole lot of migrant crime happening, including in these migrant camps where they're being forced to stay on this island of Lesbos too, which is where I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's where they got the term lesbian, but it's a side note. Greece has refused to open its border, so it's led to an impasse. Turkey's letting them go free because they want to go to Europe, these so-called migrants, and Greece is not letting them in. So a bunch of so-called displaced migrants have nowhere to go, but they displaced themselves. According to Greek Reporter, during the attack, members of Turkish police force were seen handing out wire cutters to migrants to help them cut through the border fence separating the two countries. Nobody wants these people. And so here's where the so-called human rights people come in. So-called human rights organizations say that in this current situation, they've heard several claims similar to the one made by this group of migrants. And of course, they just generally believe these people because they're kiss up to victimhood. Greece, on the other hand, says it has every right to protect its borders and has not used excessive force in doing so. What a mess. I'm glad that they're not over here, but we have the migrant caravans coming here. I'm glad that we have Trump in charge because he's bolder than the prior fake presidents. Obama placed border agents, as I recall, when I was producer of the Jesse Lee Peterson show, he placed the border agents 40 miles from the border. So they would just come in, and then you can't just turn them around once they're 40 miles inland. And now, according to these, letting these unaccompanied alien minors or children come in, you kind of have to keep them here, and then you have this catch and release stuff going on. What a mess. And then they end up having kids, or they become so-called citizens, or they just stay here anyway and pretend to be citizens, and then everybody acts like they're undocumented citizens. It's ridiculous. But that's what human rights groups will get you. And by the way, I had mentioned that Mike Pompeo, and I don't know much about Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State under Trump, but he started this Commission on Unalienable Rights, right? And there's a whole bunch of so-called human rights groups that have filed a lawsuit against Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, over his Commission on Unalienable Rights. So that makes me think that this Commission on Unalienable Rights is probably not still for what's right, my guess. But it's not for as extreme off the deep end evil as what these so-called human rights groups are for. And I've covered this before. Human rights means communists, right? And I got a text from Bible Go-To Guy about civil rights. We should stop calling it civil rights and call it what it is, socialist rights, meaning anti-American rights, right? Because a lot of you guys don't even think that socialism is a bad thing. But when you call it anti-American, anti-white, anti-Christian, hopefully one of those things you see is bad, right? Man. People get so brainwashed. Pompeo unveiled his commission in July 2019, this Commission on Unalienable Rights, because they're going to examine the role of human rights on foreign policy and refocusing on which rights should be honored. And rightly so. Critics say this could result in a rollback of protections for women, LGBTQ groups, and minorities. And I say good, because I don't trust, you can't trust these evil people to call out evil rightly. A group that's about human rights, let me just click on this article and name some of these people. Oh, interesting. You have video of this Greek situation? Pull that up, Joel. I want to see it. But let me see if I have the names of these groups. Global Equity, Council for Global Equity, Global Justice Center, Robert F. Kennedy Center for Human Rights, Center for Health and Gender Equity. Do any of those groups sound like they're to be trusted? And I know that a lot of you guys do not like or trust Mike Pompeo. Maybe you think he's a neocon, and you may well be right. And so it's kind of, it reminds me of this woman, this Black Lives Matter woman, what's her name? Melina Abdullah, over here in Los Angeles. I think she's a teacher at Cal State LA. Disgusting person. She showed up, I played it yesterday on my show, The Hake Report, that she showed up at the door of this Los Angeles DA named Jackie Lacey, a black woman, a district attorney. And the cops like her, the Fraternal Order of Police here in Los Angeles, they endorsed her to be reelected as DA, as district attorney. And I guess she prosecutes criminals, right? And doesn't prosecute justifiable shootings by police, right? She doesn't prosecute the cops when they shoot somebody and it's justified. But they want jail for cops when cops kill the Black Lives Matter people here. Well, Jackie Lacey is no angel. She's a liberal herself, I think. And her husband pointed the gun at the Black Lives Matter people on the porch, and Jackie Lacey apologized on his behalf. And he had his finger all around the trigger. It made me think that it was not cocked, or whatever you call it. Do you have that clip?
The Greek one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's play it. I want to show the people that inalienable, not unalienable. Interesting. Let's go ahead and play this clip of the Greek government, which released video. The Greek government released a video. So it's, you know, Greek propaganda, right? But whatever. Propaganda can be true. Appearing to confirm that Turkish authorities are ferrying illegal migrants to Europe's land borders and arming them with tear gas. Wow. Those Turks, they're so corrupt. Anyways, let's see this clip. Hope it's not too loud.
Turkish forces supporting the rebels came under fire. Their bloodiest day in the conflict so far.
Turkey opens borders. February 28th.
بداوا gideceğim. Cumhurbaşkanım Recep Tayyip Erdoğan öyle haber verdin. Hep millet geldi haber dedi. Hep Suriyeli topleyeceğim bir şey.
They're saying Erdogan gave free rides to the migrants. God bless his soul. Erdogan's the president of Turkey. Large number of migrants arriving at Greek borders. Dang.
Devlet bize sınırına kadar getirdiler. Ondan sonra bize
They drove us to the borders and told us to cross, according to him. Kyriakos Mitsotakis, that's a Greek name. 4,000 people deterred from illegally crossing.
Kapıları açmak zorunda kalacağız. Rahatsız oldular.
Yeah?
İnanmadılar bizim bu söylediklerimiz. Ve biz de dün ne yaptık? Kapıları açtık.
I'm with Erdogan on this one. Kind of. Turkish army accompanies migrants to Greece border. Turkish tear gas against Greek police. Well, I don't know about that. I'm not for that, I guess.
Söyleyeyim, bir ay ceza girdim Türkiye'de. Gittim hapishaneye bir ay girdim. Bugün bize servis bıraktılar.
Police let us out today.
Buraya sınıra kadar nasıl geldiniz?
Valla taksi bize getirmiş. Polis bize dedi ki gidin, yol açık.
So Greece is putting out propaganda to defend themselves from the border invasion. And I don't blame them. And then Turkey, according to Erdogan, and I don't know if I don't believe him. He's saying we can't keep holding these people. And I don't know whose people they are. I think that it's Syria. I think there's a conflict between Turkey and somebody in Syria. So it's a big mess. It's crazy. So, you know what else? Like Black Lives Matter, what were they going after? It wasn't just Jackie Lacey that they went after. They also went after, who? Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is too extreme to be speaking on Cal State LA. So if they're going to marginalize Ben Shapiro, then imagine like what they would do to Trump or Trump supporters. So these people are not for what's right. These Democracy Forward is another one of these far left outlets that are suing this guy Pompeo for his, trying to bring a little bit of sanity, because I bet you that a lot of these so-called human rights groups, they're promoting homosexuality, abortion, they think of as a human right. Ridiculous. That's not a human right, that's human murder. Duh. And so, interesting things developing in the Trump administration. President Trump replaced that acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, with Republican Representative Mark Meadows of North Carolina. I don't know much about Mark Meadows, but I have a better impression of Mark Meadows than I have of Mick Mulvaney. Meadows is Trump's fourth chief of staff in a little more than 3 years. Right on. Mulvaney will be a special envoy to Northern Ireland. Yeah, send him out there. Reminds me of when Trump sent, what's her name? The woman who was governor of North Carolina or South Carolina. She's actually Indian, not like Pocahontas, not like Elizabeth Warren. She's a rhino. She was speaking out against Trump, and she took down the Confederate battle flags from the state capitol. Oh, man, what's her name? But it doesn't matter. But he made her the ambassador to the UN for a while. And he sent her out of the country. Because she was, I don't know, it was interesting. People were speculating that what's her name? Governor, UN ambassador. It's bothering me. Nikki Haley. Yeah, Nikki Haley. People were speculating that Trump was going to abandon Vice President Pence and have Nikki Haley. Did I hear that rumor right? Is that the rumor that you guys heard? Gonna make her be the president? No, the vice president? I don't think so. From what I heard, he said that would be so. He will do it when Democrats announce the nominee, apparently. That's the rumor, right? I don't see him doing that. I think that Pence, he is nice, a little weak, I guess, but maybe he's getting stronger. I think this coronavirus situation where he's the vice president is handling it, I think that's a good move, having him handle it. He was a governor of Indiana. He's like a Christian. He's less politically correct than Nikki Haley, which isn't saying much, but he's not for the gays. According to Trump, he said that Mike Pence would have all the gays hanging or something like that. It was funny. But anyways, I got to open the treasure chest coming up in about 10 seconds, guys. So, we're going to ring the treasure chest bell. But I don't know, I'm happy. I think that Trump is doing what he said he would do in terms of the in terms of the immigration stuff. At least he's trying, Way better than anybody else so far. Maybe there will be mistakes. A lot of people liked Ronald Reagan, but he left a lot of stuff unfinished and open, especially when he gave that amnesty in exchange for border security that never happened. Man, What a mess. And meanwhile, like, we have a general just degradation of the culture. People getting into pornography, people getting into pot, people getting into drinking. People are like battling how much they can drink, and they think that that's like, it's like a source of pride for them. Reminds me of Kamala Harris taking away, not only taking away the shame of the degeneracy, but taking pride in it. And I don't know. There's a whole lot of people that think that they're red-pilled on the Jews or whatever, but yet they're not living right themselves. And then meanwhile, they're just focusing on outside problems bigger than themselves when they need to be looking at themselves. And that's, you can deal with both. Then you're better at dealing with both, to be honest. Anyways, what a mess. I'm glad that that Europe is having its problems so that they can focus on themselves rather than mess with us, because I don't know. I hope that Brexit goes through so that more countries can start waking up. By the way, Trump is fighting against the press too. He's making libel lawsuits again. And I don't have high hopes for winning in the courts. We need to win in the streets. And that's why I like that Trump is a street smart fighter. By streets, I mean like normal people life, waking people up, making people realize, oh, the fake news really is fake news. And he's filed a bunch of libel lawsuits, but he's also been constantly talking about CNN is such fake news, or I don't know. He's going after the people, and because they're going after him with this coronavirus thing. They're exploiting this. They're exploiting this sickness that's going around in order to make it look like, or to fool people into thinking that it's Trump's fault. Trump's not doing enough. He's acting like it's a hoax, which is fake news itself. So they're lying, and then they're doubling down on the lie and lying on top of the lie. And he's just continuing to tell the truth. And it's so nice. It's so nice to have a president who's not backing down from telling the truth. For once, right? And I hope that he keeps on pushing and other people continue to start wake up. It's so nice. I forgot, did I mention about the men's forum this past Thursday? It was so excellent. It's like, I've told you guys about how they say that the kingdom of heaven has like all races in it and all people in it. And meanwhile, like the kingdom of hell has all races and all people in it. And they have this fake idea called hate, the liberals, the evil people. And then like there's this real idea of hate that comes from like God. And the truth is winning over the lie, beating it out. And it's so cool to see. Right on. But Twitter and all these seemingly powerful organizations, YouTube, Google, Facebook, Amazon, the Washington Compost, New York Times, all these establishment, very successful organizations are cracking down on truth tellers, basically trying to make Jesse Lee Peterson non-existent. Like you search Jesse Lee Peterson on Google or YouTube, you don't find his channel or videos first. And you try to search his Bond, The Fallen State, or Jesse Lee Peterson channels, you can't find him. But people are still waking up anyways. The cat's out of the bag. You can't put the truth back in the bottle. It's like that thing. Like that thing where you squeeze toothpaste out of the bottle. It's out. You're not putting it back in. That's like what the truth is. You can't stop it. Oh, man, it's so nice because we don't even have, I don't know, it's so cool. How the truth is so simple-minded, isn't all intellectual, isn't necessarily having all the world on its side, doesn't even have the numbers on its side, but yet it's still getting out and people are really waking up powerfully. It's so cool. So right on to that. That was a crazy video, by the way, of those black kids, all those black kids beating up that, I guess a girl, beating up that girl. But yet it's like so commonplace too. I don't know, we got to deal with this. Anyways, we'll deal with that maybe tomorrow or so. It doesn't matter who the victim was. They'll do that to almost anybody, except for their mothers. And those are the ones that they should be. No, I'm kidding. All right, guys. Oh, congratulations to Reed Johnson, Portman, Garan Bear, Brandon M, Patrice O'Neill Groiper. Thank you to Jimmy DM, TNT88, Ferocious Chihuahua, right on. Catch the Thought, Gorgonzola, wow. Portman, Patrice O'Neill Groiper, Prince High Life, Reed Johnson, Garan Bear. And of course, thank you to Millennial. Is that Jib Jab? Millennial says, so we have hungry, turkey, where's chicken? Oh, what the heck? Where's Chickenstein? Wait a minute. Oh my gosh. James He White also needs to give Joel some slack when reading super chats. It's not his fault. Use poor punctuation. Lin Yan Chin, message retracted. Super Predator sounds cool. I wouldn't take offense to that title. Who doesn't like being super or a predator? Nowadays, like anyways, I have to go. DNYG. Donna Karen, New York. Just playing. Having a former VP as president is like being raised by a stepfather. Oh, man. You talking about Bush? Dmitriev, thumbs up. Man, YouTube has diminished in its quality of user-friendliness. Okay, guys. TheHakeReport.com for my stuff. JLPTalk.com for Jesse Lee Peterson's show stuff. All right, take care.